Okay, so I'm gonna do word for word. All right, let me make sure this is the right verse. Yeah. Okay. Yam. Vai. Vibhutihi. Upayati. Anuvelam. Anyai. Arta. Artibihi. Swashirasha. What's it? Drita. Pada. Renuhu. Danya. Arpita. Angri. Tulasi. Nava. Dhamma. Damnaha. Lokam. Madhuratapati. Patehe, sorry. Yeah, Madhuratapate. Eva. Kamayana. Okay. Yambai vibhutir upatyanuve velamanyar. No. Arta dibishwa shirasha dritapada renuhu. Danyar pitangri tulasi navadama damno. Lokam maru vratapatir iva kamayana. One second. Chardeshavu, how do you turn this echo off? Is it on another screen? I don't want to mess this up. There you go. Okay. You go back. Okay. That's it. Make it bigger. It's fine. It's fine. All right. Okay. Yambai vibhutir upatyanuvela manyar. Arta tibishwa shirasha dritapada renuhu. Danyar pitangri tulasi navadama damno. Lokam maru ratapatir iva kamayana. Yamvai vibhutir upatyanuvela manyar. Artartibishwa shirasha dritapada renuhu. Danyar pitangri tulasi navadama damno. Lokam maru vratapatir iva kamayana. Okay, word for word. Okay, I'm not able to. Don't worry about it. I do. Okay, yam. Whom. Bye. Certainly. Vibhuti. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. Upayati. Waits upon. Anuvelam. Occasionally. Anyai. By others. Artha. Material facility. Artibihi. By those who desire. Shwashirasha. On their own heads. Drita. Accepting. Pada. Of the feet. Renu. The dust. Danya. By the devotees. Arpita. Offered. Angri. At your feet. Tulasi. Of tulasi leaves. Nava. Fresh. Dhamma. On the garland. Dhamnaha. Having a place. Lokam. The place. Maruratapate. Of the king of bees. Eva. Like. Kamayana. Is anxious to secure. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, the dust of whose feet is worn on the head by others, waits upon you as appointed, for she is anxious to secure a place in the abode of the king of bees, who hovers on the fresh wreath of tulasi leaves offered at your feet by some blessed devotee. Purport: as previously described, tulasi has attained all superior qualities due to being placed at the lotus feet of the Lord. The comparison made here is very nice. As the king of bees hovers over the tulasi leaves offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, so Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, who is sought by the demigods, Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, and everyone else, always engages in rendering service to the lotus feet of the Lord. The conclusion is that no one can be the benefactor of the Lord. Everyone is actually the servant of the Lord. And I'm going to read text 21 because it's pretty synonymous with this verse. Okay, I'll just chant it by myself. Let's see. Yastam vivekta charitar anuvartamanam natyat yat parama bhagavata prasangaha Satvam dvijanupata punya raja punitaha Srivatsas lakshma kimaga bhaga bhajanastvam. Translation. O Lord, you are exceedingly attached to the activities of your pure devotees, yet you are never attached to the goddess of fortune who constantly engages in your transit-loving service. How can you be purified, therefore, by the dust of the path traversed by the Brahmanas, and how can you be glorified or made fortunate by the marks of Srivatsa on your chest? Purport. It is said in the Brahma Samhita, the Lord is always served by many hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune and his Vaikuntha planet. Yet, because of his attitude of renunciation of all opulences, he is not attached to any one of them. The Lord has 6 opulences: unlimited wealth, unlimited fame, unlimited strength, unlimited beauty, unlimited knowledge, and unlimited renunciation. All the demigods and other living entities worship Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, yet just to get her favor. Yet the Lord is never attached to her because he can create an unlimited number of such goddesses for his transcendental service. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, is sometimes envious of the tulsi leaves which are placed at the lotus feet of the Lord, for they remain fixed there and do not move. Whereas Lakshmi-ji, although stationed by the chest of the Lord, sometimes has to please other devotees who pray for her favor. Lakshmi-ji sometimes has to go to satisfy her numerous devotees, but Tulasi never forsakes their position, and the Lord therefore appreciates the service of Tulasi more than the service of Lakshmi. So, when the Lord says that it is due to the causeless mercy of the Brahmanas that Lakshmi-ji does not leave him, we can understand that Lakshmi-ji is attracted by the opulence of the Lord, not by the Brahmanas' benedictions upon him. The Lord is not dependent on anyone's mercy for his opulence. He is always self-sufficient. The Lord's statement that his opulence is due to the benediction of the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas is only to teach others they should offer respect to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, the devotees of the Lord. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Kasai Buddha Rishina Day Badi Vikas Swami Jinamani Buddha Vikas Badi Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Kasai Buddha Rishina Day Badi Vikas Swami Jinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Vijayani Namaste Badi Pasha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 and Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So before I begin speaking on the Bhagavatam verses today is Govinda Ghosh's disappearance day. I'll speak a little bit about this ecstatic personality. He comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He is a very intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya. He has 2 brothers, Vasudev Ghosh and Madhava. They are all eternal associates of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu. And he's mainly known for his ecstatic kirtans. When he would sing, the Lord would dance immediately and manifest ecstatic symptoms, just as when Krishna would dance to the tune of the gopis, when the gopis would clap and Krishna would dance. Similarly, Govinda Ghosh, when he would sing, the Lord would immediately dance and portray these ecstatic symptoms. To kind of in a brief synopsis, so he was born in Agradweep, and he participated in many leelas, the Srivas Angam pastime, He was with Lord Chaitanya in the house of Raghava Pandit, and also during the Ratha Yatra ceremony, Lord Chaitanya he separated his associates into different parties, and he would designate certain activities for each devotee. He would say, for you, you would dance, for you, you sing, for you, you play mridanga, so on. So Govinda Ghosh got the great opportunity to lead one of his kirtan parties in Jagannath Puri during Ratha Yatra. He was one of the singers, the lead singers. So, and if you think about all the associates, Lord Chaitanya, they all have these remarkable qualities, and the fact that Lord Chaitanya chose him to lead a kirtan in Ratha Yatra says a lot to his potency in chanting the holy name of the Lord. So it's not really so much on him, but I spoke a little bit on him. So Govinda Ghosh Ki Jai. So I'm going to speak on the Bhagavatam verses today. Both are really ecstatic. I'll just read the translation of 20. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, the dust whose feet is worn on the head by others, waits upon you as appointed, for she is anxious to secure a place in the abode of bees, who hovers on their fresh wreath, the tulsi leaves offered at your feet by some blessed devotee. So in this verse and the next verse, Tulsi Maharani is glorified. She's glorified for being constantly at the lotus feet of the Lord. And we see the great significance we give as Gaudiya Vaishnavas to Tulsi Maharani. We don't have her now because we're moving, but we know we worship her in the morning program. We have Tulsi Mala, we chant on Tulsi beads, and we offer Tulsi leaves when we offer Prasadam. So Tulsi is not an ordinary personality, and I was actually confused on who exactly is Tulsi Maharani. I had to do some research on it, and Gumraj says in where is this? In Rashika Nanda, Gumraj says that the sacred plant Tulsi is most dear to Krishna, and in her original form, she's a gopi of Vrindavan. I did not know that. So it looks like she's a gopi in Vrindavan, and Gumraj makes the point that Vaishnavas, they highly regard Tulsi Maharani. Even Lakshmi, as mentioned in today's purport, even she's jealous of Tulsi Maharani because Tulsi Maharani is always at the lotus feet of the Lord. In fact, Tulsi Maharani is so powerful that the four Kumaras, after smelling the aroma of the Tulsi leaves at the lotus feet of the Lord, became pure devotees. They came from the platform of impersonalism to worship Krishna's personal form. And so you see how we should follow the example of Tulsi Maharani by being always at the lotus feet of Krishna, by being always at the lotus feet of our Guru Maharaj. And Charna Prabhu was making the point yesterday how we have to accept the dust of the lotus feet of devotees. And when you first hear that, you're like, okay, what does that actually mean though? What does it actually mean except the dust of the lotus feet of a devotee? Because, I mean, for most of us, we don't really have constant association, the vapu, with the pure devotee. And Prahlad Maharaj says in his prayers that one cannot make advancement in Krishna consciousness unless they smear the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees upon their bodies. So what does that mean? Do we go around Vrindavan and just get some dust to smear on our bodies? In one sense, that's beneficial, but then, it's also beneficial, yes, to, see pure devotees, touch their feet, put in your head, but that in itself is not necessarily going to guarantee you perfection. That is not what it means. When Prahlad Maharaj says to smear the dust of the lotus feet on your body, that means to take their instructions. That's what it means. When Krishnas and Prabhupada say you have to get the dust of the pure devotees, it means to get their instructions. That's what that means. Guru Maharaj makes that point in the class. I can send you guys through this. Because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has this term called Dandavat Bhaktas. Well, what do? They go around, they get the dust of the devotees, they put it on their head, yes. Very nice. They bow down to the devotees, they touch their feet, they get the dust, and then they commit so many offenses. They don't listen to them. They don't abide their instructions. So getting the dust of the pure devotee, yes, you should touch their feet, you should put it on their head, but it actually means following their instructions. That's the point. That's the principle. That's the ultimate principle of getting the dust of the pure devotee, is by following their instructions. And we see how Krishna is eager to instruct us through his devotees. He Lord Chaitanya specifically empowered Rupa Goswami to compile these transcendental literatures. And it's mentioned how Rupa Goswami, although is Rupa Mandri in the spiritual world, he performed the pastime of, he came from a Brahmin family, but associated with Javanas and Malechis. And Prabhupada makes the point that Rupa Goswami actually, he didn't go through the whole Varnashram Dharma system. He wasn't a Brahmana. He was a Brahmana, he wasn't a Brahmachari. So he kind of skipped being a Brahmachari, he went straight into Grihastha life. But then, the reason why he was a qualified candidate for Lord Chaitanya's mercy, Prabhupada writes, because he was eager to hear. And his eagerness to hear allowed him to be a fit candidate for Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And a symptom of that mercy that Lord Chaitanya gave Rupa Goswami, he gave him the particular potency to preach by writing literature. One cannot preach, no one cannot perform kirtan without actually being empowered by the Lord. It's mentioned that in Chaitanya Charitamrita. One cannot preach unless he's specifically empowered by the Lord. Even if one book goes out, that is not your doing. One magazine goes out, that is a symptom that you have been blessed by the Lord. So the point I'm making is that when we should smear the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotees on our heads. But Rupa Goswami, his Vapu is not present to us. So how do we do that? How do we smear the dust of Rupa Goswami's feet on our bodies? We do it by following his instructions. He compiled the Nectar Instruction, Nectar Devotion. Prabhupada translated these great literatures. And by following these literatures strictly, we can gain his mercy. This Krishna consciousness movement is under the specific direction of Rupa Goswami. And we can get his dust by following his instructions. So it's very important that we have to be eager. We have to be eager to read these literatures. We have to be eager to give these literatures out. Also, Bhadishanatha Saraswati says that temple construction is actually to bring neophytes, more or less, into the temple. Those who have some affinity towards the deity, who have affinity towards, arti. That's more or less for neophytes, for them to come up. But actually, an advanced devotee, a symptom of an advanced devotee is he preaches. A symptom of an advanced devotee is that he reads, he assimilates what he reads, and then he preaches what he reads. This is a symptom of advanced a Mahatma. And from these souls we should hear. From these souls we should associate with these souls. These are the type of people who we should associate with. Prabhupada writes in the 5th canto, 5th chapter, 2nd verse. Prabhupada used to quote this verse all the time. I have not memorized it because I'm a low-class fellow. But Prabhupada says, Mahantaste shamashita prashanta. Prabhupada says that one can attain the path of liberation from material bondage. How? Only by rendering, Rishabhadev says this. One can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. This is the way. This is the way. We can only attain perfection by getting the dust of those feet of devotees. How? By rendering service to them. It is very important that we have to associate. The thing is, the Guru, and also in Rishabhadev's teaching, is talked about Tapo Divyam. I mentioned this. I don't know whose class it was, but the Guru, the Guru engages in disciples in Tapo Divyam, divine austerities. Ultimately, the human life has been for austerities. And this human life is mentioned in this earthly planet that happiness and distress is like 50-50, right? So you get like equal amount of happiness and distress. So it's perfect amount situation for you to execute Krishna consciousness. And the higher planetary systems is more happiness than distress, so that's why they get bewildered, because they're getting so much intoxicated by illusory enjoyment in the mode of goodness that they don't worship Krishna. And then the hellish planets are suffering so much that distress outweighs the happiness, so they don't worship Krishna there either. But in this earthly planet, specifically is meant for Tapyo Divyam, because we get this amount of distress to realize, like, okay, I can't be having this material world. We also get just the right amount of happiness so that we're not so distressed that we can't execute Krishna consciousness properly. So the Guru engages his disciples in Tapyo Divyam because he understands the goal of human life. His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj says, if you don't know who you are, then every single thing you do is wrong. If you don't know what your purpose is, then every single thing you do is wrong. You can perform austerities to get this benediction, that benediction. You can perform austerities to get a good position. You can perform austerities to, like Ravana and Hiranyakashipu. But because they failed to understand that they're eternal servants of the Lord, then everything they did was wrong. It was vain. It was Shama Eva Hikevalam. So the Guru understands the position of the disciples because he understands his own position. One who is realized can make other persons realize. Just as fire can make, if something's, probably use the example of an iron rod. If an iron rod is hot with fire, it can turn other things, it can give that potency to others. So, Bhaisana Saraswati Thakur says, a real guru is a Mahanta guru. A Mahanta guru is one who has no personal desire. His only desire is the satisfaction of Krishna. That is his only desire. And these are the personalities who we should get the dust of. We should get the dust of the lotus feet. We should take the instructions of those who have no other desire but to engage his disciples in Tapyo Divyam. So, in this verse, it's mentioned how, actually, I want to go back to this 552, the verse I just quoted. As far as, Srivadev says, one can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced personalities. In the last last sentence of the purport read today, Prabhupada writes, the conclusion is that no one can be the benefactor of the Lord. Everyone is actually the servant of the Lord. So this is our position. We're always not directly a servant of the Lord. We're a servant of the Lord. This is how you get the Lord's mercy. And it's interesting because although Prabhupada in this translation it says that for those who are not interested in merging into the impersonal Brahmajyoti, okay, hold on. Okay, so for Prabhupada's, so in the translation, for those who are not interested in such activities like rendering service to devotees who associate with people fond of women and sex, the path to well is wide open. So for those who are too attached to women and not even that, who associate with people who are fond of women. Just see, so it's interesting. Just how if you associate with a person who is attached to Krishna, you get attain liberation. If you associate with a person who's too attached to women, the gates of hell are wide open for you. Just by association. It's interesting. The same association can give you liberation and also give you bondage. And it's also said that they don't see any difference between one living entity and another. So it's interesting how Rishibadev is saying you have to associate with Mahatmas and don't associate with women and those fond of women. However, a Mahatma sees no difference between one living entity and another. So that's pretty interesting how a Mahatma can see that all living entities are eternally parts and parcels of Krishna. However, they still avoid the association of women. Why? Because, Srila Prabhupada said somebody asked him, if I was in a room with 1,000 women, I would not be bewildered, but you would be bewildered, right? Because Prabhupada was a Paramahamsa Guru. He has transcended this material lust. He's transcended that. But for us, if we were in a room with beautiful women, we would fall down immediately. But for Prabhupada, he's not going to fall down. So, but still, Prabhupada was very careful not to associate with the opposite sex. Even though he had the consciousness that they're all part and parcel of Krishna. Why? Because a Mahatma understands the power of the mind. A Mahatma never trusts the mind. Even if they attain that perfection of seeing all living entities, they will still never trust the mind. Because the mind is like a poisonous snake, always willing to drag us to hell. Actually, in this Mana Shiksha by Raghunath Goswami, he talks about instruction of the mind, this Mana Shiksha. And he says that the highwaymen of lust and his friends have bound me around the neck with the painful, horrible ropes of many wicked deeds. O mind, please scream out to the devotees of Krishna, the killer Baka. I'm being killed. Then he will save me. He says, "O mind, why do you burn us both by bathing in the urine trickling from the ass of great deviousness and hypocrisy?" It's pretty heavy. Instead, he's talking to his mind. Instead, mind, you should delight us by eternally bathing in the glistening nectar ocean of pure love for Sri Gandharva Giri Hari. So the mind is always trying to burn us in this temporary nescience of trying to enjoy the material world. And he's giving us an instruction. How do we control our mind? He says, "Oh mind, scream out to the devotees of Krishna. Scream out. The devotees of Krishna will save you. You know, call for them." I remember when I was in HG Prabhu, when I was in Atlanta, he told me one time, he was like, "You have to scream for Krishna." He was like, and he took me outside the porch. He's like, "Scream right now. Chant Hare Krishna, scream." And I was like, "Hare Krishna, louder." I was like, "Hare." I was just screaming loud. I was like, "Oh my God, this is really embarrassing." Like the neighbors like hearing us. He was like, "Scream. You have to scream for Krishna." And I remember, I was like, "This guy's insane." But I remember I did it and I felt like, wow. Like I immediately felt reciprocation of Krishna. It's true. We have to scream for Krishna. We not necessarily. I mean, sometimes you actually physically have to do it, but also screaming is also just mean like being eager, screaming for the association of devotees, praying earnestly praying for the mercy of devotees. When will that day be mine that I will serve the devotees faithfully? We were reading that yesterday in Madhya Thakur. When will that day be mine? So even though an advanced Mahatma, even though they see all living, they have this Samadarshana, they have the vision of seeing all living entities equal, still they don't trust the mind. What's to say about us? We think we made a little advancement in Christian consciousness, now I can scroll on Instagram, now I can look at nonsense on the news, now I can have frivolous talks with my parents or frivolous talks with karmis, thinking, oh, it's fine, I've chanted enough rounds, I can control it. No, this is rascaldom. You should never trust your mind. The mind is always seeking titillation of the senses. That's why Instagram is so powerful. Where like I delete the app, but somehow it drags me to get back on. It's so amazing. Like you get too much idle time when your mind just like gradually just goes back into. The mind needs to be engaged. That's why, like I said, we follow the activities of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. 24 hours a day. They only slept an hour and a half, if that. All day they were constantly engaged in Krishna Katha, Krishna Leela. All day, 24 hours. This is the example. This is the example they're showing us. If we're not engaged all the time, we're going to be bewildered by these material facilities. So we have to be the servant of the Lord. This is a constant theme throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. This is a constant theme. In the 11th canto, it's mentioned, Mat Bhakta Puja Vyadika. Krishna says, first-class worship of devotees enables love for him. Krishna is in the 11th canto. There's a long translation where it enunciates what real religious principles are, right? It mentions that real religious principles, and this falls under one of them. I'm not gonna go through all of them. One of them, Krishna says, first-class worship of devotees enables love for him. Not second class, not third class, first class love worship. So with great care and attention, we have to serve the Guru by following his Vani and Vapu if they have the chance. But it should be first class. It should be with great care and attention and reverence. And this enables love for Krishna. By doing this is how you attain love for Krishna. You cannot just jump straight to Krishna. Krishna, he loves his devotees. He even said today in verse 21. Krishna says that, or the four Kumaras says that you are exceedingly attached to the activities of your pure devotees. So this attachment, Krishna is attached to the activities of his devotees. He's attached to the activities of his devotees. And I remember I was reading somewhere. Let me see if I can find that. I could probably pull this up here. Okay, it's right here. So in the 3rd canto, chapter 25, text 20, this is Cardinal Muni. No, that's not Cardinal Muni. I'm sorry. This is who's the incarnation in the 3rd? Yeah, Kapila Dev. I don't know. Yeah, Kapila Dev says that every learned man knows very well that attachment for material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul, but that same attachment, when applied to the self-realized devotees, opens the door of liberation. And Prabhupada writes that where is it? Sorry. Okay, Prabhupada writes that attachment for material things is called material consciousness, and attachment for Krishna or his devotee is called Krishna consciousness. Consciousness is therefore the platform of attachment. Like, just think about that for a second. Like, every word, sentence of Prabhupada, you can dissect so much. Prabhupada says that consciousness is therefore the platform of attachment. That's kind of very confusing. Consciousness is the platform of attachment, meaning that the attachment that you have for something, the consciousness, to that degree of attachment you have for something, the consciousness develops according to that attachment. Just as, depending on your consciousness at the time of birth, whatever attachments you have at the time of death, whatever attachments you have, then your consciousness in the next life gets amalgamated based on the consciousness you have at the time of death, right? And even in this life, you have a boy's body, man's body grow up. The attachment that a boy has, based on his attachments, he has a certain consciousness. A boy usually is attached to sports or playing. So he naturally has a consciousness of always wanting to play because he's attached to these things. Similarly, in Krishna consciousness, if we develop great attachment to our devotees, then we can be purely Krishna conscious. Because Prabhupada says consciousness is a platform of attachment. So if we want to be Krishna conscious, we have to develop firm attachment to Krishna and his devotees, as is saying in this verse. Krishna is attached to the activities of his devotees. Even the activities of the devotees are so powerful that even Krishna himself is attached to it. Krishna he's Atmarama, he's self-sufficient. He doesn't need to be attached to anything, but the activities of pure devotees are so attractive that even Krishna becomes bound by it. But because we have no taste in this, we have no taste for association in pure devotees, we have no taste in Srimad Bhagavatam, because we have no taste for it, naturally our mind starts to attach to these lesser things because we don't have this problem just for Nivartante. We don't have attachment for reading and chanting 24 hours, right? We don't have that attachment yet. But, I mean, of course, through the process of sadhana bhakti, we can attain this, but it takes time. It takes some time. So, like I said, we should smear the dust of the devotees, of the devotees on our heads. And Krishna, as Mahosa Prabhu was telling me this, is pretty interesting. He was saying how, in the Vishnu Sahasranam, I forget, I think it's Dharma Krit. Yeah, the series Dharma Krit. And Guru Maharaj makes the point how some people criticize Krishna. They say, Krishna, how can you worship Krishna? He's so sinful. He steals people's wives, he steals butter, he commits abominable activities, he has all these wives, and then he dances with other people's wives. He's so sinful, how can you worship such a person? People criticize Krishna like that. But then Srila Prabhupada in his Holy Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj explained how do you refute this? Like, let me ask you, how do you refute this? When people say Krishna is sinful because he dances with other people's wives, what is the proper refutation for that? Yeah, that's there.
You can't understand Krishna's activities because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead and that you're just a living entity.
I mean, yeah, but still, although we can't understand, how can somebody who's God dance with other people's wives? It's sinful. Like, how is stealing other people's wives not sinful? If he's supposed to be the inaugurated Dharma, how is he dharmic?
Because every living entity is a woman. Krishna's like a woman.
Yeah, it's there. So, they explain how, when arguing with such people, you have different pramanams. You have pramanam based on logic. You have pramanam based on reason. You have pramanam based on sastra. Then you have pramanam based on direct experience. And about all the, especially when it came to direct experience, that pramanam is the highest because even atheists can appreciate direct experience. Like, because that's all they want. Atheists and scientists, I want to perceive God. I want to perceive God. You can tell them scripture, you can give them logic, you can all this other stuff. But because they don't have direct experience, then they can't appreciate what you're saying. So yes, you guys are hinting at arguments based on logic. You're hinting on arguments based on Shastra. However, to an atheist, it has no value. You can talk Shastra to an atheist. You can talk even logic to an atheist, and they still won't, because they don't have direct experience of it, they won't accept your pramanam. So this is what the Acharyas say. They say that if you examine great celibates like Haridas Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you examine great Acharyas, Ramanuja Acharya, Vallabha Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. How is it that these great saints are worshiping Krishna and they're becoming free from sin? Only if Krishna is full of sin and these great personalities are worshiping them, how are they becoming sinless if Krishna is full of sin? So the Acharya explained that personal experience. You see these great souls have worshipped, even us, members of Krishna conscious movement, you see Prabhupada turn hippies into happies. How is it that people who come from illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and drugs, chant Hare Krishna, and they abstain from that activity, they're becoming sinless? The only way to explain that is because Krishna is sinless. You can only, if Krishna is full of sin, how are people who are also sin becoming free from sin? So this is direct experience. You can see this practically. That is an argument to refute these people saying that Krishna is full of sin. Well, if you're full of sin, how is it that I'm chanting Hare Krishna and I'm not engaging in sin? How is it that? Because Krishna is pure. He's the supreme pure. Raja Vijay Rajagun Pravitram. He's the supreme pure. And the knowledge of him is the supreme pure. Pravitramita Bhutama. But Yaksha Bhagamam Dharmam. And Christian conscience is direct experience. It is. It is. You should perceive the bliss of Krishna consciousness. And then by perceiving that, you perceive the happiness that's associated with it. But you can only do that by getting the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees. The dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, their instructions enables us to get this direct experience. It enables us to fully realize the position of Krishna, and it enables us to fully realize the great fortune of serving Krishna and how that is real wealth, that's real opulence. Even Lakshmi Devi herself, she's the embodiment of opulence. And even she herself is chasing after the lotus feet of Krishna. She says in this verse, it says that Lakshmi is envious of Tulsi, because Tulsi is always at the lotus feet of Krishna. Well, but sometimes Lakshmi has to, tend to different of her devotees, and so, but Tulsi's fixed. Tulsi says Tulsi leaves never forsake their position. So even Lakshmi Devi herself, who's full of opulence, realizes what real opulence is to be constantly at the lotus feet of Krishna via medium of the Guru. That is real opulence. What is the distinguished one between being rich and poor? You might think somebody has a lot of money, but he has no Krishna consciousness. He's poor. He's poor. But somebody who's seemingly poor, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, when they took up lion cloth and sleeping on the trees, they were the wealthiest. They were the wealthiest. They were getting all their needs taken care of by these kalpavriksha trees. They were the wealthiest. Anything they desire, they can get. So this is the point. This is the point of today's verse and today's purport, that the last verse, Krishna acts in a way to teach others that they should offer respect to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, the devotees of the Lord. Why? Because in the previous verses mentioned that everyone is actually the servant of the Lord. No one can be the benefactor of the Lord. And it's interesting, although nobody can be the benefactor of the Lord, you read in Krishna book how after Krishna lives Govardhan Hill, all of his the gopis, cowherd women, and the gopis, they bless Krishna. All blessings unto you. If you guys read Krishna book, it happens quite frequently. They bless, all blessings to you, Krishna. They blessing God. How can Krishna's devotees bless God? But he accepts it though. He accepts it because they're doing it out of pure love and affection for him. So although nobody can be the benefactor of the Lord would seemingly take a position of taking that benedictions only for the purpose of bhakti, only for the purpose of reciprocation. Actually, Krishna gets great bliss in this when his devotees bless him. Even though you can't bless God, you can't bless Krishna, but he accepts it for the sole purpose of reciprocation. So this is the point. The point is that we should always be at the lotus feet of Krishna. We should always be the servant of the Lord. And we shouldn't pray for material opulences. We don't have to. Lakshmi Devi herself, she's very eager to bless the devotees. We don't have to pray to her. We don't have to be, eager for her benedictions. Only thing we should be eager for is association of pure devotees. If you can't get it through the Vapu, then do it through the Vani. And that is how you get the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees. By associating them, constantly associating with them through the Vani. So I'll stop my class here. You might have any comments, questions, anything like that. Yes, Prabhuji.
This point that Lakshmi has to attend to her devotees.
It said this in the purport. Yeah.
I have a question about that. I'm finding that, because we understand if somebody is not worshipping Narayana, and they're just worshipping Lakshmi exclusively, then that's actually Durga.
Yeah.
So, I'm just trying to understand.
It's kind of confusing. I don't want to speculate,
Yeah.
but I do.
In that call?
No, he's not. But I do remember hearing that Durga is the material manifestation of Lakshmi Devi.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Prabhupada's hinting at through Durga, she reciprocates through devotees through Durga, because that's true. Lakshmi, she doesn't. You can't, just like Ravana. You can't get Lakshmi without Narayana.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's my philosophical speculation. But I mean, I don't know if anybody else has anything else to say about it. It is understood. Yeah.
There's I think in the Ramayana, I mean, it's also mentioned in Shakespeare Church where there's the Sita's test, like the test of her chastity. She goes through the Agni,
Yeah.
and then the real Sita came out of the fire.
Yeah.
I think that would.
No. What Chandra Prabhu was saying is like Lakshmi Devi doesn't have her.
She's not dependent on her.
Yeah, she doesn't like. I think he's saying is like Lakshmi Devi, her devotees, people who try to pray to Lakshmi, actually they're praying to Durga. I remember hearing that actually. Guru makes a point. Yeah. Yeah. So people who pray to Lakshmi, they're actually praying to Durga. So I mean, like I said, my philosophical speculation is when he's, because Guru also makes a point that Durga and Lakshmi are pretty much the same person. It's just the material manifestation of Lakshmi, who I guess reciprocates to people who want material benedictions. So. I mean, I could be wrong, but
Yeah,
I don't know. That's
what I thought too.
yeah.
Because Lakshmi, it seems that she only directly attends to Narayan, so.
Yeah. It's mentioned that. Yeah.
Attends to materialist service.
Yeah, it's mentioned like that. That you can't get the favor of Lakshmi without Narayana. So yeah, I don't know.
In that connection, I have a question also. In today's purport, it says, when the Lord says, therefore, that it is due to the causeless mercy of the promise that Lakshmi did not use them, we can understand that Lakshmi is attracted by the opulence of the Lord, not by the Brahman's benediction of him. This is towards the bottom.
Yeah.
Continues, the Lord's statement that his opulence is due to the benediction of the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas is only to teach others that they should offer respect to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas and the devotees of the Lord. So of course, we understand this is like the Lord speaking out like humility and being instructional in that as a statement. I was just wondering though, like this causes mercy that he's speaking of, is also like because of the Brahmanas like being mild in behavior and having this renunciation of material opulence because they don't ask Lakshmi, I guess, to bless their homes or whatever. Like, is it for this reason that she's able to like stay like like with the Lord? Like, so
Wait, I'm sorry. What was your question?
So let me follow. Like, because Lakshmi is chanchala, like unsteady.
Yeah.
So sometimes she's not ever like won't be in one place. Right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, she's not, because those who are devotees of Narayana, she blesses them. So those who are, it's not like trying to, like those who are devotees strictly of her, she doesn't bless them. She only blesses those who are devotees of Narayana. So for those who are devotees of Narayana, yes, she gives out her opulences for those who are devotees of Narayana or Krishna.
I guess I'm just trying to understand like how the Brahmanas play into that.
Well, because I think so in the
The Brahmanas don't seem to seek like material opulence.
no. So Krishna says earlier in this chapter that the Brahmanas, the cows, and defenseless creatures are my own body. And then he also talks about the Brahmanas captivate my heart, who are gladdened. And he also says that those who look upon the Brahmanas as my own self, he's very pleased with that. So it seems that in this purport, Prabhupada's saying that Krishna is saying like, oh, the Brahmanas captivate my heart. My Brahmanas are with me. But then Prabhupada's making the point that, although the Brahmanas constitute the body of the Lord, and although the Brahmanas, by seeking the favor of the Brahmanas, ultimately Krishna is Atma Rama. He doesn't have to depend on the Brahmanas for satisfaction, but he puts himself in that situation. So it seems that in this, let me go back to this is text 20. Okay, it's like acting slow. Yeah, I can't. Can you read that again? It says, as far as the Brahmanas? I got it right here. Yeah, I see it. So it says that, so when the Lord says that it's due to cause mercy to Brahmanas that Lakshmi does not leave him, we can understand that Lakshmi is attracted by opposites of the Lord, not by the Brahmanas' benediction upon him. And that's what I'm saying, like, that I'm actually confused about. The Brahmanas' benediction upon him. I'm not really sure what Prabhupada's talking about. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that the Brahmanas, Lakshmi is attracted by the opulence of the Lord, and not by the Brahmanas' benediction upon him.
By the Brahmanas' benediction upon him?
Yeah, about Krishna. I don't know.
There is one translation, maybe a few verses ago. You see maybe number 12?
Yeah.
Text number 12.
Okay. Yeah, it says, the servants of mine has regressed you, not knowing the mind of the master. They may turn
Yeah. The next one.
13.
No, the previous one. 9.
9. It says, I am the master of my unobstructed internal energy, and the water of the Ganges is the remnant left after my feet are washed. That water sanctifies the 3 worlds along with Lord Shiva, and it bears on the head. If I can take the dust of the feet of my vice on my head, who will refuse to do the same? Oh, I see.
So, in the next one, means it's the same line, I think, that Prabhupada is saying that the Lord is saying that he is willing to take the dust of the
Yeah.
Vaishnavas on his head. Then, normal living entities, they should definitely take the dust of the Vaishnavas.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what's hitting at. Yeah, that I guess by taking the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmins, you get benedictions, right? But even though Krishna takes the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas, it's not that the Brahmanas bless Krishna. And that's what I think the Prabhupada is saying in the purport, that it's not that Krishna is being blessed by the Brahmanas, even though he takes the dust of the lotus feet. And that's why Lakshmi is with him. She's with him because she just loves him. I think that's kind of the point that Prabhupada is making. Not because he's become opulent, but it's because he's self-sufficient.
I have a question.
Yes, Prabhuji.
You were mentioning that deity worship in the temple is to attract neophytes.
Yeah, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that. Yeah.
And the more advanced thing is to do preaching.
Yeah.
Personally, it seems like a little bit of a risk. If someone is preaching all the time, if they don't do deity worship.
Yeah, that's true. So you still have more questions, that's it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, like, you need both. I think the point is that, ultimately in the Krishna conscious movement, yeah, we follow both. We follow preaching and deity worship. It's not that one should be neglected to the other. I think the point is that there's a time where Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's disciples were fighting about temples and not distributing his books or just Brihat Madanga. So he says better to sell the marble of the temple than to not preach. So if one has to be forsaken, even Prabhupada says that, I think. Prabhupada says that if so many people are taking care of the temple that there's not enough time for going and preaching, then lock the temple up and go preach. So I think the principle is there that you need both. But if one is if preaching is being neglected at the cost of deity worship, then this isn't the right mood. The right mood is, of course, you need both. But if you're not able to do preaching because of intense deity worship, then yeah, your deity worship is slacking a little bit so you can have more. But like I said, it's one of those case by case situations. Like for example, us, we're still doing deity worship, right? We have pictures and we're still preaching, right? I mean, I remember at one point, even at the temple that we were still doing it during the marathon, there was like 2 devotees. We're still doing deity worship. It's not that we should take it and run with it like, okay, we should preach, so that means we don't have to do any type of deity worship. No, you still have to do it. But if it's at the cost of nobody can preach, then yeah, Prabhupada says, yeah, even sell the marble to the temple. Sell it. Sell the marble to the temple. If this is inhibiting devotees from preaching, then sell it. So.
Anyway, I thought this was very appropriate to read. This is 15, Canto 4, chapter 13, verse 3. Prabhupada's talking about the 2 processes, Pancharataka Vidhi and
Right.
Vidhi. So Pancharataka Vidhi is the method of temple worship. Navana Vidhi is the system of 9 processes. The Krishna consciousness movement accepts both processes simultaneously and doesn't make steady progress on the path of realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This Pancharataka procedure is also introduced by the great sage Narada, as referred to here by Vidura.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you need both. You need both. But the point is, the reason why you need both is because the point of Krishna consciousness movement is to expand, right? So like you said, if you're just preaching, but you don't have a temple, yes, you're doing a lot of preaching, but then, like I mentioned this before, that management follows preaching like a shadow. So proper temple deity worship and temple management after preaching to go hand in hand together. That's how you can fully cultivate an aspect of Krishna consciousness, and that's how the movement spread. Prabhupada, I mean, you follow Prabhupada in India, he established glorious temples in India, like big temples. Why? You know, because he knew that would bring the masses in. But then simultaneously in America, Prabhupada he also established temples, not as big as in India, but he was very strict on preaching. I mean, in both cities, but specifically in America, it seems like back then the devotees, actually the devotees in LA, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Chicago, is mentioned in Transit Diary that they are actually funded, their book distribution actually funded this Mayapur project and Vrindavan, right? So, like I said, it's both. You have this glorious deity worship in India and bring the masses in, but then in America, you have this book distribution. So you need both. Yeah, both is there. It's not that. If the Christian conscious movement just did preaching, right, but no temple deity worship, then yes, the movement would go on, but it would be hackneyed. It wouldn't, because there are people who won't take books, but they come to the temple, right? There are people who won't take books, but they take prasadam. So in Christian consciousness, you have to realize where everybody's at, and that everybody is going to come in through. Not everybody's going to come in through book distribution. Me specifically, I didn't want to take Christian consciousness serious because of book distribution. It's because of prasadam, right? So I just got books, but without the temple, the deity worship, I wouldn't be here. But there's other people who Harinam, they join because of Harinam. Other people join through kirtan. Other people join through books. So many different things people can join. So yeah, it's how our farm community. Some people are gonna join through that. So yeah, all of this is all encompassing, you know. So yeah, to your point, yes, you shouldn't fully neglect deity worship. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if your deity worship is being hackneyed, if your preaching is being hackneyed by deity worship, then yes, you should realize what your priority is.
The specific thing also is that neophyte can't see Krishna beyond the deity.
That's true.
So that the point is made in the Bhagavatam, that the neophyte believes that Krishna is there only in the temple, that's it. But a preacher, a Madhyama Adhikari or Uttama Adhikari, they see Krishna everywhere, and they see the fallen conditioned souls and how they act accordingly. So you see that if preaching is neglected, then what happens in our movement is exactly like it's a standard thing of what's happened. Preaching is neglected, so then worship the deity, so the Hindus come and give money.
Yeah, that's it.
And so that's what it turns into. So preaching cannot be neglected. Actually, in the West, there's not so much importance of establishing like big grand temples.
Yeah, exactly.
There's more importance of like showing varnashram.
Yeah.
Of farms, communities, and actually just having a simple You know, you may be in a barn style type of temple. It's not such a big deal. But the point is to show the lifestyle. That's what people are most interested in. And of course, deity worship is not that a person who worships deity is a neophyte, though. Neophytes need deity worship, but not that a person who worships the deity is a neophyte. That's
Right.
a very key point to understand. Just because you worship the deity and you're at the temple doesn't mean you're a neophyte. So it's just, anyways, it's just multiple points there like you mentioned.
Yeah, and you see that certain temples, I'm not gonna name, but they focus on building big centers, but they neglected preaching. And you see the caliber of people who are coming, right? Because they focus on these massive temples, but they are not preaching. So yes, they might have a nice Hindu crowd coming, but they have all these misconceptions. So what's the point? Like you see, like us, we're not really focused so much on building a big temple. We were focused on preaching, and look how many people came, and majority of people who come to Christian life are pretty philosophically sound, you know, and we're not necessarily, you know.
We're living in the ghetto.
Yeah, we're living in the hood, you know.
Like the most hood, like building you could have.
Right. So it wasn't necessarily. It's not like, you know. It does seem though. It does seem, although you need both. It does seem that for those who do prioritize preaching over deity worship, the caliber of devotees who come are at a higher standard. I mean, that's just from my experience. I'm just seeing I see Christian life in other temples, and I mean, y'all have traveled more than me. Y'all have been to different temples in America and outside. For those temples who aren't preaching, you see, and they have nice temples, you see the caliber of devotees who are there. So, I mean, hey, so, yeah.
I have one last
Yeah.
question. This second verse we covered today.
That one's a little confusing.
It says, "O Lord, you are exceedingly attached to the activities of your pure devotees, yet you are never attached to the gods fortune who
Yeah.
constantly engage in transcendental loving service." I was reading just yesterday. This was, I believe it's Canto 4, chapter 30. I don't remember exactly which text this is. I thought it's in the 40s. This is the protectors after they offer their prayers in the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
Basically at this point, I'll just read the translation. The great sage my prayer continued. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the protector of surrendered souls, being addressed by the Chetas and worshipped by them, replied, "May whatever you have prayed for be fulfilled." After saying this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose prowess is never defeated, left. The Prachetas were unwilling to be separated from him because they had not seen him to their full satisfaction. Now, it's saying in the verse that you covered that he's exceedingly attached to the activities of his pure devotees.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing here in the purport, the verse that I just read, that although he was attracted by the Prachetas, he left. This is an example of his renunciation. And later on in the purport it says that the conclusion is that although the Supreme Lord has unlimited kindness for his devotees, he's not attached to anyone.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is,
like, I'm just trying to understand what the proper way.
so in the Chaitanya Charitamrita is mentioned when Lord Chaitanya takes sannyas, he just leaves, and all his devotees in Mayapur and Bengal, they were devastated. But it's also mentioned how.
Anyway, please read this. The funny thing, what you bring up.
Yeah, it's very. It is. Anyway, that's so, yeah, but it's mentioned how when he was in Mayapur, he was extremely attached to them, but then simultaneously he had the renunciation to leave. So hold on, what's this?
That exact instance.
Yeah, that's funny, bro. I didn't even know. That's funny, bro. Krishna, sorry, Vashachamidi Sani Vishto. This is an example of renunciation. This renunciation was also did by Lord Chaitanya when he stayed. Rather, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like,
But still, I mean, I guess like I was just hoping you could elaborate.
the thing is,
It's just one of the things, just like
They can do whatever the hell they like.
the thing is like the Lord, his six opulences is renunciation. So yeah, the Lord, although he's attached to his devotees, if he wants to renounce, he'll do it. But at the same time, it's also mentioned that the Lord also, he was always thinking about them. So physically, he might not have been there, right? He might not have been in their presence, but the Lord is always thinking about his devotees to the degree they're thinking about him as well. So, yeah, physically, the Lord does. He might show up on the scene, and after he's attached, it's a good point you're making, because that's pretty much in line with today's translation, that the Lord was so attached to the activities of the Prashetas that he came to them, but then he left. But then you see the Lord does that a lot, actually. Like a lot. The Lord does that so many times where like somebody will offer prayers to him, he'll come and he'll just leave. That happened with Daksha, that happened with Dhruva Maharaj, and it actually increases their attachment for him. So when the Lord does these things, I mean, it's actually for your benefit. Like he does that, he'll come and he leaves, and it's for your benefit, because now you have this Vipralamba, now you have this mood of separation service.
Narada Muni also, I remember actually he gave darshan to Narada Muni, and they basically like, this is like the last.
Yeah, same thing. Same thing. So the Lord he does this all the time, where like he's attached to his devotees and he'll give them darshan, but then he'll leave because he's renounced. He doesn't necessarily have to stay. But then it doesn't mean that he's still not thinking about them. Just because he's not there doesn't mean that the Lord, like it's mentioned that the where's that in the 9th canto or the 11th canto, that the thoughts of my pure devotees always dwell in me, and I always dwell in the hearts of the pure devotees. So it's mentioned that as well. That the Lord's always thinking about his devotees, just as the devotees think about the Lord. Just because he might not be there doesn't necessarily mean that that's a symptom of renunciation, doesn't mean he's not thinking about them though. So he's still attached to them. So that's my way of understanding it. I might be wrong, but somebody can correct me if I am. It's good. Okay, anything else? Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Vante kalpatu. Patitanam parimbayo Vaishnave Bhavo Namo Namah.